So this is the official beginning of our webinar, Christmas edition of our webinar. I immediately give the floor to our executive director because he's jumping from one meeting to the other and we don't want to take more of his time. Alexis, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marika. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to see you. Today is a bit challenging for me because I am currently in Vienna. We have the meeting of the directors from European agencies for justice and home affairs. And it is a very important one because next year, as from 1st of January, it is the EUDA that will chair the network. And we have a fantastic project for presidency that I think the colleagues will present briefly in our next webinar. At least they could do so at the conclusions. And if everything goes well, I will be able to attend what will be the last webinar of the year and my last webinar as director of the agency. So I want to thank Marika and all the colleagues. I want to say welcome again to Elisa, who recently joined the team to be the scientist working on harm reduction programs. So housing first is not a new topic for us. We dedicated one of our first ever webinars to this issue. Actually, I'm very happy and positive to say that the idea is getting more and more traction, even if there are still many challenges. I know, and I noticed that there is a lot of interest from everywhere in the world. I was in Boston in September, where I met the Pine Tree institution that is working with the homeless people, and I know they were interested and to know about the conference on housing first that took place a few weeks ago in Lisbon. So that for me it is extremely important because it's another illustration of the small but essential change of paradigm that harm reduction brought to us over the last 30 years or so. Harm reduction was invented at the end of the 80s in the UK by Russell Newcomb. I think he's the one who invented the expression. But if I come back to 30 years ago, I remember very much how difficult it was to speak about not even harm reduction, but HIV prevention or providing help to people who are using drugs. Because the institutions that were working with homeless, first of all, they had limited resources, including limited human resources, and therefore anyone who had a problem with any kind of substance, starting with alcohol, was potentially seen as a troublemaker. And the truth is, in some cases, they may have had real negative experiences of people who were drunk in the shelter. So it's not about fantasies or exclusion or stigma, but they were not prepared, they were not equipped. And the truth is that the philosophy at that time, at least from the side of many authorities, was that housing was a bit the cherry on the cake, but you needed first to make your cake yourself, more or less. So this means that if you manage to quit any kind of addiction and that you would become clean, as it was said at that time, then as a kind of a reward, you could be admitted either in a shelter or in a housing program. 30 years ago, sorry, 30 years ago or 35 years ago, actually, the picture is a bit different. Not enough, but I think the advances there are very important. On the one hand, and the COVID pandemic has been a boost in some cities for that. I think about Athens or Barcelona, It's the fact that some night shelters found a way to welcome people who did not stop consuming, including, like in Barcelona, the shelter that is having also supervised consumption room. And I remember from my visit there 2 or 3 years ago, what was very interesting is that they were saying that for people who were coming there with a still active problem with alcohol dependence, they needed to hand over the bottle of alcohol that was stored, and in the case of need, there was a protocol, a process to be followed. But I think, if I remember well, at least 60 or 70% of people who were spending the night there who had the problem with alcohol at the end did not need to use. Just the fact that they had the security, the safety that if they were not feeling well, if they really needed, there would be a condition for that. I think it's a for some of the ideologies or rigidities regarding first be clear, then we can help or you can have access. I think it was a small revolution, really. And it shows that at the end, it has not become a total chaos in those shelters. So I think we need to help to debunk the false ideas. We are the European Union Drugs Agency. We are not an NGO. We are not activists, with all due respect for NGOs and activists. But just to make sure that we share and disseminate facts and scientific evidence about what is the problem or what can be a result, what are the best practices, what are the conditions is very important. Today, with the topic of today, and more broadly with the topic of housing first, I think we have potentially an important tool for development, because indeed, if you look at the situation of those who are homeless and who are accumulating a series of child or personal difficulties, if I can call them like that, and the fact to be dependent to one or more than one substances is part, but usually it's not only the only problem those people have. There is double diagnosis, there are problems with mental health, but also with their family, people who live and stay in the street for very long. It's really a theoretical breakthrough to understand that first we need to help them to stabilize their life and where they live, before to maybe be able to better help them, or for them to feel ready or to be willing to enter into a different dynamic for themselves and for their future. So that's very important. Finally, I think, unfortunately, we don't have only good news. We see that in the European Union in the last 10, 20 years, we had the succession of various crises, many of them of economic or socio-economic nature, or at least having an impact on national economies and the state budget. And as we are based in Lisbon, but I was mentioning Barcelona, I think the situation is the same. We see that for the citizens who are just people who don't have so many difficulties, such as substance use or dependence, many of them face huge difficulties to find decent housing for themselves and their families. And in Lisbon, for instance, I know that the Câmara Municipal, the municipality, has made huge investments to support housing and social housing for families. And this means that obviously it's more difficult with the Uberization of the real estate in many cities, the over-tourism. And I was mentioning Barcelona because now you have citizens who are asking the authorities to put some limits to the hyper-tourism. I think the same is the initiative of the Câmara Municipal in Lisbon, which means that for the social services and people working in housing and housing first, it's a bigger challenge than before, because if citizens who have no problem already cannot find housing, uh, sometimes it's a difficult choice to make, to see where should we put the every time less funds available to invest. So I think it's one more reason to continue to give visibility, to share the best practice and the scientific evidence, but also all this information that is about what I would call also, to some extent, social experiments. And for me, it's very important, because social experiments and how to maintain or rebuild the social tissue and the social boundaries is not only about people who are using drugs or substances. It's a challenge faced by every time more people in our society. So I think that as I'm reaching the end of 10 years as a director of the EUDA, 35 years after having been involved in the creation of EMCDDA, and 40 years after starting my clinical practice, I find on the one hand we have made a lot of progress, but we have so many things to achieve together that I think it's even more important than before to give a maximum of visibility and push to learn the lessons, not only from the problems we have faced the last 30 years, but also the interesting and innovative solutions that respect the fundamental rights of everyone, including people who are using substances, not only drugs, and to try to find a solution that helps rebuilding or strengthening our community's resilience. Thank you very much.
Thank you to you, Alexis. And surely one important part of the legacy you leave to us is the creation of our sector that includes together all the health and social responses and gives exactly us the opportunity to work globally in trying to resolve these problems. I'm very happy to give the floor to Elisa Kurcevic-Ramonet. As Alexis has already anticipated, she joined our sector in October to be the new scientific analyst in harm reduction, and she will chair this webinar. So I close my camera, I remain in the backstage to help, and please go ahead, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Marika and Alexis, for setting the direction so clearly for this webinar. So as was mentioned, it's too often, I think, reintegration is treated as something people must earn most commonly through the abstinence. And when abstinence becomes the gatekeeper, it can actually end up excluding the very people who most need stability, healthcare, safety, especially those who are not ready or do not wish to stop using psychoactive substances. As Marika already mentioned, this webinar is part of our Christmas edition. So at this time of the year, as Christmas approaches, we hear a lot about generosity, compassion, kindness. So all these values, they matter, but the real test is actually whether they show up beyond the season in our everyday systems and decisions. Because for the people we are talking about today, the need for safety, dignity, and support doesn't pause until January. Kindness can't be a seasonal message, right? It has to be a consistent practice built into how services are designed and how rights are upheld. So, what the evidence and frontline experience keep showing is something both very simple and powerful, actually. So social inclusion is not the reward at the end of the journey. It's what makes change possible. When people have a safe place to live, respectful relationships, practical support for daily life, their options expand. They are better able to regain control, protect their health, reduce risks, and also pursue goals on their own terms. This works best when approaches are low threshold, rights-based, grounded in harm reduction, and designed with peer involvement and real-world supports. Across Europe, cities and NGOs are already bringing this to life. Housing First secures a home without conditions of sobriety and then wraps support around the person. Employment First and work activation approaches bring job coaching and income pathways into harm reduction settings. meeting people where they actually are. And social enterprises like cafés or catering initiatives, they create supported routes into training and paid work, offering structure, purpose, and a bridge to longer-term employment. So today is actually about learning from what's working. This webinar brings together representatives from 3 very inspirational European programs to share how they deliver reintegration without abstinence requirements, centering dignity, health, safety, and opportunity. Our objective of today's webinar is very practical: to equip all of you with evidence-informed strategies you can adapt in your own settings, drawing from these 3 models: how they are designed, how they are delivered, what barriers they faced, and what outcomes they're seeing. Just a few practicalities before we will go into the speakers' presentations. This webinar is recorded, and also if you will have any questions, please write it, leave it into the questions and answer section. It's on your screen below. Also, you can chat and make any ideas in the webinar's chat. With that, let's move to our speakers and hear directly from the people doing this work, showing what care looks like when it's rooted not in conditions, but in respect. So I would like to present you our speakers. Cristiana Merendeiro is a neuropsychologist with specialized training in harm reduction, psychotherapy, and trauma. She also holds a degree in psychomotor rehabilitation. Since 2015, she has been actively involved in the field of harm reduction and currently coordinates the Housing First program at Crescer, Portugal, supporting people experiencing chronic homelessness. In addition to her coordination role, she develops and delivers both internal and external team training and provides technical supervision. Our second speaker will be Els van Koverden, responsible for the work integration projects of the Regenboog Group in Netherlands. With a background in both social work and entrepreneurship, she's ambitious to create meaningful and tailored work opportunities for their target group. And the last but not least is Louise Body, who's responsible for operational management, development, and delivery of Scottish Drugs Forum award-winning national traineeship. Louise has a keen interest in enhancing supported employment pathways for people with experience of substance use. So we have 3 great speakers, and I would like to invite Cristiana Merendeiro to present their initiative at Crescer. Cristiana?
Thank you. So first, I would like to thank EUDA for the opportunity to be here today to share Crescer's experience. Also to greet my colleagues in this webinar and thank all of you for listening and engaging with us today. I will present practical examples of housing first and employment first approaches that we are developing as essential pathways to individualized care. I will try to change my slides, but oh, okay. I think you can see my first slide, right? So I will begin with 5 starting points that guide our work at Crescer. The first one, I would say, that is recognize that people are not unfit. More often is the existing responses that fail to meet their real needs. The second one is a recognition that participation is essential. So developing effective responses begins with creating spaces where people's voices are heard, are valued, and integrated into project design and implementation. This is fundamental to building responses that truly work for people. Third, peer workers and lived experience are key contributors to this. At Crescer, around 30% of our staff have lived experience. We have peer workers in every project we deliver. And this brings a unique knowledge and strengthens our ability to support people effectively. Fourth, meaningful change happens through trust and clear information. So genuine, consistent, non-judgmental relationships together with honest and useful information create real conditions for people to do safer choices and sustainable changes. And finally, behavior is adaptive. People do the best they can with the resources, the context, the history they have, and substance use may function as a strategy or for regulation, survival, and relief. And understanding this allows us to intervene with both humanity and effectiveness. So, about the projects I will present today, CHEIR has been developing a social enterprise approach since 2019 aimed at promoting the social inclusion of people experiencing homelessness through employment. And since 2013, we have been developing this project called É uma Casa Lisboa First, that is focused on people experiencing homelessness and who use drugs. Starting with our social enterprises, we have developed a training and a labor market integration program with two main goals. The first one is to integrate these vulnerable people into society through employment, and the second one is to contribute to CHEIR's financial sustainability. In this program, after selecting trainees, CHEIR, in partnership with the Lisbon Hotel and Tourism School and also with the Institute for Employment and Vocational Training, provides a 1-month theoretical and practical training program, followed by this 5-month on-the-job learning period in one of the 4 spaces currently operated by CHEIR, which I will present shortly. After this period, participants continue either with a professional internship or a direct entry into the labor market. Throughout all the process, trainees will also receive psychological and social support. And I just want to highlight here that participants are paid in this training, so as in any other professional training promoted by the Institute for Employment and Vocational Training, and they also receive this diploma from the Institute when they finish this training. As a result, approximately 50% of participants who complete the on-the-job training successfully enter the labor market. So we run 4 restaurants in the city of Lisbon and a catering service. One of them is this that you are seeing in the pictures. So this is a fine dining restaurant in the city center of Lisbon, where participants gain hands-on experience and develop advanced culinary and service skills. This second one, so this is another venue, is used essential for corporate events and group dinners with a capacity for over 120 people. We also run our catering services from this location. And following the same model of our other restaurants, we operate 2 canteens located within large company offices, AGAs, an insurance company, and Coffee D's, a credit company. This project also demonstrates how partnership between community-based organizations like CHEIR and private companies can serve as strong examples of involving the whole society in addressing homelessness and promoting social inclusion. I now would like to take just 1 minute to talk about the brand we almost organically, I would say, create with the hotel, a marketing agency. So all our projects follow the naming pattern It's a Something. It started with It's a House, our Housing First program, and has grown to include our social enterprises. It's a restaurant, it's a table, it's a lunch. So today the brand spans all our projects. This brand represents more than a name. It reflects the care, the quality, the dignity, and our spaces are thoughtfully designed, welcoming and well decorated, showing that the people we work with deserve the best. By creating these environments, we challenge also negative stereotypes about homelessness, about social services, and we help participants feel valued and recognized for their strengths. So the brand itself tells a story of value, of competence, of social inclusion. The products such as a lunch or a dinner experience are one way for clients to engage with this story and actively promote social inclusion. And these initiatives have been successfully in involving both the community and also these private companies we work with. And to conclude this part, I will highlight the impact on our trainees using the words of Jonas, which is it's a colleague and a previous trainee from this course, who speaks of fulfillment, recognition, and connection, all of which, as we know, are key drivers for motivation and personal change. So now I will present our Housing First program called É uma Casa Lisboa Housing First. In line with the original Housing First model, it is based on independent, scattered site and time and limited housing, paired with off-site support from a specialized team and community-based services. Housing visits, which are not optional in this project, are the most important setting for intervention in this methodology. It is during these visits, as well as in other community contexts, that new pathways are co-constructed with our tenants. In addition, when participants have income, they contribute 30% to the project. In this methodology, participants are the drivers of intervention, setting their own goals, their own housing rules, and so the approach is fully individualized and aims to promote autonomy and self-determination. Our target group consists of people experiencing chronic homelessness, many of whom use substances such as heroin, crack cocaine, benzodiazepines, alcohol. These are individuals living in extreme vulnerability, often with multiple comorbid conditions, including both physical and mental health challenges. Also, many of them carry histories of complex trauma. We do not impose any precondition related with documentation, abstinence, treatment, adherence, or similar requirements. In fact, the most complex and vulnerable cases are the ones that are prioritized. This combination of factors makes traditional services difficult to access or often not adapted to the realities of the public we work with. This is precisely why Housing First is so crucial. It provides stability first, allowing us to work on safety, health, on social integration from this place of trust, continuity, and dignity. Since its implementation in February 2013, the project has grown from 7 to 152 houses and now operates in 3 cities in partnership with municipalities and also the Social Security Institute. Over the years, it has supported more than 170 people who had experienced homelessness for an average of 14 years, with women representing roughly 30% of participants. A key outcome is that 90% of people supported have not returned to homelessness, which demonstrate both the effectiveness of Housing First in promoting housing stability and its long-term sustainability. This creates a cascade effect. It impacts not just the individuals, but also the broader community by reducing the number of people living in inhumane conditions on the street, improving individual and public health, reducing substance use and victimization, and promoting, I would say in the most ecological way possible, social inclusion and community engagement. This experience also allows us to support other Housing First projects, nationally and international, and influence local and national policy. Of course, to continue the project, we need apartments, which rely on the private rental market. And right now, to reduce housing instability, we are developing a capital fund with MAIDS, a Lisbon-based company with expertise in supporting impact-driven organizations to guarantee long-term rent stability. With this, we hope secure the most important tool of this project, that are the houses, but also easing the pressure on our staff, we would say, who are the second most important asset to ensuring this project success and quality. So on the houses, we approach substance use through 3 dynamic stages. The first one, I would say, that is reframe substance use. So we begin with the understanding that substance use is a complex, multifactorially phenomenon deeply embedded in each person's life context. There are many reasons for using: relief, belonging, survival, emotion regulation, pleasure, routine, or even coping with trauma. And reframing means moving away from a simplistic explanation and acknowledging this complexity rather than just reducing this substance use to a problem or to a bad choice. Then we try to understand its multiple meanings. So before intervening, we listen. Our goal is to understand what substance use means in that person's life, the role it plays, and the purpose it serves. We work without moral judgment and without assumptions about intentions, mistakes, failures. So recognizing the meaning behind the pattern of use allows us to see that each person is doing the best they can with the resources, the strategy, the experience that are available to them. And at the end, this third stage is co-create alternative pathways. So change is not imposed, it is built collaboratively, grounded in a trusting therapeutic relationship. We co-create possible realistic alternatives that align with the person's goals, capacities, and circumstances. These pathways may include harm reduction strategies, stabilization, safer use, managing or reducing consumption, or if the person chooses, working toward abstinence. But our focus is always this: autonomy, dignity, and supporting the ability to make informed choices. So as I come to an end, I want to highlight that we are not just talking about providing a roof here. We are talking about housing and the security, the autonomy, the privacy, the sense of ownership that come with housing. In the next slides, the people who live in these houses will share their experiences in their own words. So if I can change the slide, thank you so much. So here a tenant explained the picture she took as part of a photo voice project called Women's Voices, illustrating her sense of freedom. So she said, these are the keys to my freedom, to my dignity. I have these keys for 10 years and I'm still afraid of losing them. Every time I put them in the lock, it hardly feels real. I enter my castle and from there, I won't leave. In the second picture, another tenant from the same project explains what housing privacy means to her. I didn't know what it was like to use a private bathroom, to have freedom, privacy, to have a bathroom just for myself, to take as much time as I want with no one waiting or watching. Oh, it's so good. When I was on the street, I menstruated without hygiene. I had nowhere to take care of myself, nowhere to bath or wash. I didn't have hygiene products. At home, I have all of that now. And I will conclude, Francisco will share in his own words what Housing First is all about.
A primeira vez que dormi na rua foi onde eu fui batizado, em Alcântara. Ainda não existia o Hospital da CUF. Cheguei a dormir na Lux, com a autorização dos donos da Lux. Tive ali também uns 2 ou 3 anos ali, depois ia mudando. Eu tenho que dar.
A Catarina vai começar por explicar algumas destas coisas. Nós basicamente o que é que vamos fazer? Assinar um contrato onde estão as regras de entrada no projeto. Que é...
Ali fora, quando me deram a chave à casa, fiquei alegre. Quando eles partiram, eu fiquei a chorar. Não chorei ao pé deles, mas às vezes choro ao pé deles. Se tiver que chorar, choro. Eu comecei-me a adaptar e com alegria ter uma cama, mas cheguei a sentir, precisava ainda dormir no chão. Eu cheguei a dormir aqui, cheguei a realidade da minha vida. Eu cheguei a dormir aqui uns 3, 4 dias no chão. É outra vida completamente diferente. Já ando mais tranquilo, já não há aquela preocupação de ser agredido, e já tenho possibilidades de abrir uma porta para eu dormir. Já não olho para o chão, olho em frente ou para cima. Antigamente andava sempre de cabeça baixa, ou com medo, ou... É completamente diferente.
Thank you for your attention. We hope that our work at Crescer inspires ideas and motivates action toward housing, inclusion, and dignity for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Christiana, for making this really inspiring and motivational, I would say, presentation. You know, even the numbers you were showing, I mean, it's just numbers, but I think it's also about, you know, like numbers with lived histories and experiences, like involving peers, 30% of peers to being involved, or that 90% do not return to the situation in which they were before. That's really huge, and that's impactful. So I just would like to invite everyone again to, if you have any questions, please leave it in the questions and answer box, or please use webinar chat for this. I already see like questions coming up to the chat. We will answer it in the end of our webinar. And now I would like to move to our next speaker, Els van Kooijerden from the Regenboog Group. Please, Els, floor is yours.
Thank you, Elisa, for your introduction, and thank you, EUDA, for inviting us. My name is Els van Koeverde, responsible for the work projects and reintegration projects we have within the Regenboog Group. And I will tell you something about our organization to give some background, but also specifically about our work in reintegration projects and the reasons why we think it's effective also for a group of people who normally doesn't get the chance to participate in these kind of projects. And as Christiana, I'm now hoping the slides will move. Yeah. Who we are. The Regenboog Group is a civil society organization in Amsterdam, also working in the surroundings of Amsterdam, supporting people who face marginalization and vulnerabilities. So we work a lot with homeless people, substance use and mental health challenges. We provide low threshold and harm reduction services, including around 10 day and night shelters, drug consumption rooms, work and social reintegration projects where I am responsible for, but also buddy support and housing services for displaced people from Ukraine, and several LGBTQI projects. There's a little delay. Yeah. Our mission and core values as an organization, and also specifically for the work and reintegration projects, we're there for everyone in Amsterdam and surrounding areas who are struggling and have nowhere else to turn. And we mobilize the strength in society to support them. So we work with a lot of volunteers, people from Amsterdam, in a less vulnerable situation. And we try to promote people to be and live as independently as possible. Working from the core values, solidarity and caring, resourceful and optimistic, but also fearless and outspoken, meaning that we experiment sometimes within or just on the boundaries of our work field. Some numbers, just to give an impression, we have around 400 employees working, as I already said, with 1,500 volunteers. And these volunteers work everywhere in the organization. So they have a role as buddies for people for whom we work, but also in the work and reintegration projects to have some stronger help supporting the employees that we have. We have 10 day shelters, drop-in centers, 5 drug consumption rooms, around 360 work or reintegration places, and over 4,000 social work appointments every year. Well, I think I can almost skip this slide, to be honest, because why work integration is important is something we all mentioned already. It strengthens social cohesion, reduces poverty also because we offer a small, well, let's say wage within the work integration projects. It improves individual well-being and encourages skills development. So I will quickly go to the more important part of our work, and it's how we do that. We try to reach out to people in every part of our organization, meaning we try to reach out to the people in the drop-in centers, often people who are still using drugs, still drinking too much, often also people who are homeless. And we try to reach out to them already there and motivating them to work or co-work, for example, in the drop-in centers, to work in the surroundings, cleaning up the area a bit, helping to cook, helping to serve coffee. So really, we try to offer opportunities of work and reintegration nearby the place where people are. And our participation is unconditional. So regardless of mental health problems, drug or alcohol use, or housing situations, people are always welcome to participate in our organization independently of their situation at the moment. And we offer a very diverse range of work, from production to service delivery, from very low threshold participation to really guided pathways towards regular jobs again. So this means that we can really, depending on where someone is in his or her life, offer a place that fits and is possible. Yes, is it moving? Yeah. Wait, I'm going back a little bit more and tell something more about how we do this. Because besides the fact that we try to meet people where they are, we also really focus on the positive sides of people. So the progress-oriented approach is always looking to what people can do, their capabilities, their skills, their motivation, their desires, and try to fit the job based on on these I just know the Dutch word. We have a person-centered approach, so based on their individual motivations and goals. If someone doesn't want to do something, of course, we try to motivate people, but we never force. And we really try to combine the learning needs and the goals with also training, like a path where people can learn and develop, and also can do studies if they want to. And of course, the right environment, the places where people feel safe already, the places where people come regularly, where they know people already. So it's an easy step-in model. Some successful elements. So as I already told, we have a wide range of opportunities, from the drop-in centers to, well, really the pathways towards paid jobs. A very strong and diverse network in the city, which helps because we have collaborations with the fieldwork teams, the mobile outreach teams, social enterprises where we can place people and also have internship possibilities, and protected workplaces, like within regular companies where people can experience with like a regular job, but have some more secure environment and coaching around it. And I think what creates possibilities for us from the Regenbooggroep is the innovative approaches. So the pictures you see right now on the presentation, the left one is our newest drop-in center. It's a big bus, and also a place where people can use. And this is a place where people come that never are in contact with any social work, healthcare organizations, or actually no institution at all. And they come there, and it's really the first step to get in touch with them, to get to know them, to ask if they have wishes or desires in their life. And it's really a first step to motivate people to some new direction. From this bus, we have a work project in the park where the people who come to the bus often stay, cleaning the park, but also cooking in a church near the park with people from there. And this is really, I think the best example of trying to get close to people and from there motivate them. But we also have projects like Back to Work, how we call it, focusing on people often from Eastern Europe who come to the Netherlands to work here, have housing because it's combined with their temporary job, then lose their job, also lose their houses. And we try to catch these people soon, like as soon as we can after they lose their job, try to find temporary housing for them and together look for a new job so they don't end up in long-term homelessness and therefore more problems. Some very practical examples. It doesn't really show beautifully on this slide, I see. Well, I will just tell you. An example is Peter, one of the employees working for our organization right now. I met him around 10 years ago in the drop-in center, so being homeless, very addicted to crack at that moment. And he started to help out in the drop-in center little by little, getting more responsibilities during that time there. And from there on, together with our social workers, looked for stable housing in Amsterdam, managed to find that, and through a traject, like a period of recovery, is like a full-time employee for the Regenbooggroep right now, and responsible for one of the work projects we have. So that's just beautiful to see what can happen in 10 years. I also wrote down an example of Steph. He came to the Regenbooggroep mainly looking for housing. We also have projects to help people to find housing. Unfortunately, we cannot offer housing first ourselves, but we can help people to find a place. And together with the search for housing, we also found a job for him in collaboration with one of the big banks in the Netherlands who wanted to offer possibilities for people to work there in a safe environment. So he found temporary housing right now and work at the big bank. And the last example of one of our innovative approaches, even though it exists for many years already, is Amsterdam Underground. This is a city tour organization where former homeless people guide people around the city and tell their own personal story of the time they were still addicted and homeless, and they tell what happened in their own lives, but also what changed in the city. And they work well, they all have paid jobs for our organization as tour guides at the moment. I think this was it. Thank you so much. Sorry for my looking for English words once in a while. And looking forward to the questions at the end of this presentation.
Thank you so
I
much.
give you back the word, Elisa.
Yeah, thank you so much, Els, for your presentation. I think one important thing you mentioned, also Christiana was mentioning, is kind of for the services, for service providers to getting out of the box, right? To try find the solutions to reach out to people, you know, so reach out to people in their own environments, on their own terms, rather than, you know, waiting for people to come to us and look for help or for support. So it's great to see so many great projects ongoing in Amsterdam. Thank you very much for your presentation. And now we are moving to our last speaker, Louis Body, who will present their national traineeship. Louis.
Thank you, Eliza, and for the intro, and to EUDA for this opportunity to present as well, and to share a part of the work we deliver at SDF. I'm going to focus on our national traineeship, and I'll explain how this work stream focuses on fostering integration of people with lived and lived experience into sustainable work through compassionate and inclusive practice that we have at SDF. So just move on. So I'll give you a little bit of history, first of all, just around our project here. It was a small pilot in Glasgow, launched in 2004, in response to barriers of employment faced by people with lived experience of drug and alcohol problems. Through the work that Scottish Drugs Forum were doing, it was becoming clearer and clearer. People who were able to get into some form of recovery were experiencing still significant barriers with many elements of their life, with a focus around employability and employment too. Recognizing that many people in the city were experiencing these unique barriers as a result of their substance use, but also multiple other issues that impacted their employability, like mental, physical health, interactions with the criminal justice system, their education or lack of education, and some of the soft skills that we associate with employability as well. Really, since 2004, the project in essence hasn't changed too much in the terms that is supported employment experience. However, the scale and criteria around it have, and I'll share more about that later on in the presentation as well. SDF have a really strong track record of funding this project as well, and in 2023 we had our kind of most significant investment via the Scottish Government through the National Drug Mission, which saw the biggest investment to date with the national traineeship, which allowed an element of unrestricted funding with the project as well. It's an award-winning project and has won multiple awards since 21 years it's been getting delivered, with most recently this year winning a award through Highland Third Sector Interface, part of the Reducing Vulnerability category. So why do we need the national traineeship? Probably a lot of this is sort of preaching to the converted in terms of the reasons why, but it's really as relevant in 2004 as it is in 2025, with Scotland's ongoing public health emergency with Scotland's drug death figures. There's people who obviously manage to receive support and get into some form of recovery, whatever that recovery means to them, and looking at that opportunity to reintegrate people back into areas of society, especially with employment, and we do that through this model of supported employment. So the introduction of lived and lived experience within the sector may have been seen as quite tokenistic before, but really it isn't now. And a lot of Scotland's workforce within the health and social care sector especially sees the benefit of bringing people from the lived and lived experience community into this kind of sector of work, and the significant contributions people from the lived and lived experience make within services. A big couple of service providers in Scotland, third sector providers like Turning Point Scotland, we are with you. employ people on a significant basis who have lived and lived experience. So there's a real culture change within Scotland happening around employing people with barriers and specifically with lived and lived experience. There's ongoing challenges within the sector, within recruitment and retainment, and that's part of the reason why this project came around. But really, it's looking to tackle the barriers head on for people, whether that's through trauma, the navigating through the justice system, navigating through Scotland's Protection of Vulnerable Groups membership, which is a membership programme that you must be part of to work with vulnerable people, as well as, just ongoing health inequalities, financial inequalities for people who have been affected by drug use over the years. So the traineeship is really unique in terms of combining the quantity of training, the bespoke support, the practical element, and the paid element to the project as well. It directly impacts or challenges poverty alleviation through the traineeship. It addresses inequality through paid employment, through training, through education. The majority of our trainees come from a history of intergenerational unemployment. Many of the trainees that we employ every year come from areas of multiple deprivation. So the traineeship directly addresses this inaccessibility to employment and education and allows an element of financial independence, which many of our trainees have never had before. Trainees also show up as real role models within their local community, within their immediate family, within their friends, within their peer groups too, breaking years of intergenerational unemployment and really tackling that stigma around employing people who have a history of substance use. So what is the traineeship? I will move on to my next slide. What is the traineeship? And I'll give you a bit of a kind of explanation about what we do here, basically. So it's a paid employment opportunity, and I think I just want to emphasize that the payment is a really important element of this, and we pay people or the real living wage or the most recent real living wage, and they're employed with Scottish Drugs Forum for 9 months. They do 27.5 hours a week. They work Monday to Friday with us, and over that 9 months, they do a real kind of intensive combination of professional and personal development. They go through a vocational qualification, an SVQ2, which is the entry-level qualification within Scotland for working in the health and social care sector. And it's pitched at that level for people just entering the job market and the roles and responsibilities that trainees do whilst they're doing their traineeship with us. They do a practical work-based placement, and that is with a variety of different forward-facing services that we work with across Scotland. Primarily drug and alcohol services, but we also work with a range of different services like advocacy, criminal justice, homeless services. So really a range of different kind of practical experiences so trainees can really cut their teeth in the practical element of this. There is a whole heap of training throughout the time that trainees are on the project with us. They do over 30 pieces of bespoke training, a range of facilitator-led e-learning, knowledge sessions through their vocational learning too, and it's a real kind of bespoke set of training that ranges from professional boundaries to elements of motivational interviewing to looking at trauma, stigma, all the things that are really relevant to make someone work within the drug and alcohol sector in 2025. This is all wrapped around with intensive pastoral support and employability support. So at the end of the 9 months, the trainees come out the other side of it. They've got qualification, they've got the practical work experience, they've got the knowledge, but they've also got the kind of the confidence, the self-belief to be moving into mainstream employment afterwards as well. I'll talk to you a wee bit about our criteria and an element of around how this has changed as well. The traineeship is like applying for like any other job. There's a person specification, there's a job description. Trainees have to go through a fairly, what I would say, rigorous recruitment procedure to get employment on the traineeship. We've got limited funding spaces, so we really want to make sure that the people applying know what they're applying for and they feel ready for employment. You'll see that kind of strap line at the bottom. That's really the question that we ask people applying. Are you at a stage in your life where you feel ready for employment? and through this, personal experience is really important. We recognise that value lived experience through supporting friends and family has, but the traineeship is specifically for people who have been personally affected by their own personal substance use. So we used to have an old abstinence focused criteria, and that was used to measure readiness. This demonstrated the opportunity the lived experience brings, but it excluded living experience and people who are at different stages in their life in terms of their own recovery, whatever that recovery means to them. This excluded people from the job market who were potentially and were able to demonstrate a readiness for work, but were hindered by this time-based criteria. In 2023, we developed and brought in a new criteria, which was part of a real kind of ideological change within Scottish Drugs Forum. And it demonstrated a new approach to supporting people with lived and living experience, but at different stages in their own personal recovery. This was influenced, like I said, through a kind of ideological change, but influenced through consultation with key stakeholders at Scottish Drugs Forum as well. And there was a recognition and a continued recognition that abstinence doesn't always require a time-based approach, that medication-assisted treatment, opioid substitute therapy can be part of encouraging people to work, and it should not be a barrier for entering the workforce. We at SDF believe that people who use drugs or are in receipt of medication-assisted treatment can and should be included. With the right supports in place, the lived and living experience community make a really valued addition to the labour market. We're leading the way in Scotland in terms of championing the rights of people who use drugs, who are in receipt of medication-assisted treatment, to have that same employability access as others if they are in the right place to be doing so. It allows SDF to access more people facing employment barriers through their substance use and can access opportunities that the national traineeship provides through this new criteria that we have. A big part of what we do is the support on the traineeship, and I think I want to just kind of emphasize and stress that this is a supported employment environment and experience that trainees are coming in. So we know that life within a mainstream employment can look very different to when people are in a supported employment experience. So we are equipping and building that capacity for people on the traineeship to ready them for life beyond the traineeship and working within the mainstream mainstream employment. The majority of trainees who do this project move on to work within the health and social care sector. That's what our national traineeship focuses on. And there's a real emphasis around supporting people to be ready going forwards. So in terms of people when they accept the role before they start, there's usually a couple of months kind of period before then. We do a lot of pre-employment support with people, find out where they're at in terms of their own life, their own family life, their own recovery, things that they need to be putting in place in terms of them being able to fully make the most of the traineeship while they're on it, identifying any support needs that's going to perhaps at this time hinder them and making a success onto the traineeship, exploring that with them and making sure that we can put those kind of mechanisms and supports in place for people. We do a lot of work around supporting the right placements for folk too, and ensuring that the right placement and practical experience is suited for them, but also at the same time pushes people out of their comfort zone. So, for example, if somebody has an experience of their own recovery being quite absence focused, we would look at services that maybe have a harm reduction focus as well to kind of make them aware of gaps in their knowledge that they might not be aware of, and ensure that there's a real holistic approach to when they are developing their practice and their knowledge. They're looking at a kind of holistic approach to how they might support the clients in front of them with the variety of different areas of signposting and services that they could access. During employment, people do there's a huge amount of support that our project support team deliver. So from ongoing kind of pastoral support is what we describe it, to formal supervision. It's a peer project. We employ between 30 to 35 people a year. And within that, there's kind of 3 separate groups, and they have their own peer support. And that is really key to the success of this project, the peer element, and then being able to support each other, whether that's through their qualification, what's going on at placement, what's going outside of work as well is really key, and one of the kind of main key ingredients to making this project work. So we really, we really look to support people as much as possible to ready them for the graduation and the completion of the traineeship. So when they finish, they've got the kind of, they're equipped with everything that they need to be doing in terms of working in mainstream employment. I'll just share a little bit with you around the Scottish Government principles that we are part of. We're part of a working group that was feeding into these 3 documents here. Put a little QR code in there if anybody's interested in looking them. And these were all just looking to provide the best practice and support into supporting people with lived and living experience into mainstream employment, looking at the benefits the lived and living experience community bring to organisations, but understanding the adaptations required to really fully support people with barriers. These principles tend to focus within the health and social care sector, but at SDF we recognise the importance of supporting the people with lived and living experience into all employability sectors, and we are doing some key work in Highland region of Scotland at the moment, looking at alternative pathways, alternative vocations, and alternative kind of qualifications to support people with different sectors and different industries as well. So these principles focus around the challenges, around flexible working, the stigma, the health inequalities that come with having lived and living experience, and encouraging and fostering employers to provide a real person-centred approach when supporting people in the workplace. So there's practical information in there around gaining access, but really the toolkit brings together best practice and support into one place to provide employers and employment support providers advice on how to attract, recruit and support staff with lived and living experience of substance use. I will share briefly just a bit on our outcomes since 2004. So, 21 years we've been delivering this project, and we have really fantastic outcomes with the project, with 90% of people completing the project, 85% of our graduates moving into paid employment as well. We have many trainees who maybe move into further education as well. We've had trainees who go on to do nursing degrees, social work qualifications, other VQs. And I think just to kind of emphasize the legacy that the traineeship has really started to kind of leave over the 20 years within the sector. Many trainees who graduated 20 odd years ago are still working in the sector. Many working within promoted posts, many working in managerial posts, and many working in management positions now that are now hosting trainees as part of the kind of mentoring and hosting process of supporting the practical element of the traineeship as well. So that's my second last slide. I will just play a very short video on our a few testimonials of some of our recent graduates, but some of our graduates from kind of 10, 15 years ago as well. Thank you.
Just gave me the wee taste. At first I didn't know I was capable. I had that self-doubt, but after SDF gave me the chance, day by day, I've just started developing as a person, started opening up my mind, and it was also good for my own personal recovery.
I wouldn't be in the job I'm in now. I never ever thought I'd be in that sort of professional capacity. And to give people the opportunity, it's like when you are in active addiction, you have the stigma of you're nothing, you're never going to amount to anything, and being able to have the opportunity to train, to become professional and get into like professional work it's like I say, it's life-changing.
The traineeship gave me the opportunity, and what it learned me about myself was that I'm actually quite a clever person, and it built my confidence to then go on and further my career in other kind of aspects of my life.
I've grew massively. I've done another 2 SVQs. On top of that, I've done the advice and guidance and the community engagement, I think it is. And I've just completed that, so it's like year on year I've done it, more learning, which I never thought I would do at my age.
The national traineeship was just, gave me so much back. You know, family, friends, Made me feel whole.
Which is a great video. I'll not play it again, but thank you very much for your time and attention, and I look forward to answering any questions that anybody might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis, also for a very inspiring presentation. I think the video kind of summed up, like all the 20 years of program experiences, and it seems like people are motivated to learn more and more at some point, of their life. So it's not only the traineeship, but even later at some stages, like they're like doing themselves and just training themselves for different other programs. So that's really great to see. Great. So we just heard 3 amazing, inspiring presentations from 3 different countries, focusing on housing first and employment first approaches. And I do believe that we do have questions. So Marika, please join us and let's see if we have any questions.
Yes, thank you. I skipped the congratulations. I cried listening to you. It's really like breathing oxygen for what we are doing. You probably have answered some of the questions, but I think are interesting because can be answered by all of you. One is, what is the relation with the rest of the communities? How the people in the towns where you are active accept this type of work, and what it took to get their agreement about these activities and involvement. Whoever wants to start, I think, is a question for all of you.
I can just start saying that right now we work at different levels of engagement with the community. So I would say that not just with the community, but also with the policymakers locally and nationally, and other NGOs, private companies, our community in general, but also the communities that are near the houses we have in Housing First, and the neighbors. So we did a lot of advocacy work to this. We invite policymakers, decision makers in general, but also other colleagues and NGOs to come to see the projects on the field, to talk with people directly, to visit the houses when tenants were with that availability to receive people. And normally they are strong advocates for this project. They help a lot. And in all these moments, we have this partnership between Crescer, the tenants, peer workers, and we unite efforts to pass all the information needed. And I think after all these years of implementation, we see the changes. We have a huge, strong community around us. But I will highlight this impact of neighbors and small communities to make all of this work.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you. I'll just kind of chime in a little bit about our experience, I suppose, in terms of the kind of wider community. And I mean, we deliver this project primarily within the health and social care remit, and it's, I would say, met fairly positively across most services that we work in. However, there is still challenges within the health and social care sector too, around employing people with lived and lived experience, some of the kind of stereotypes and some of the kind of stigma that still runs through the sector is still fairly prevalent, and across maybe other regions of Scotland where we're not working as much, it's very much seen. And part of that, our work is really about challenging those stereotypes, challenging that stigma, amplifying the voices of people with lived in and living experience, and making sure the benefits of what it means to employ people who have barriers means, and the benefits it brings. And I think I shared a little bit earlier about the ambition of wanting to work within different industries and different kind of sectors too. So doing some work around capacity building and really kind of shining a light on the misconceptions and stereotypes, like I said, about what it means to support people who have that lived experience, but the adaptations that need to be made as well to really kind of include people from the community as well.
Else, would you like to add?
Yeah, it is recognizable. I think as an organization, we're working like day by day to, well, break down the stigma around the people where we work with by telling their stories, by letting them tell their stories, by connecting people in Amsterdam who are less vulnerable with people who are more vulnerable in body projects, but also in the work projects. And I think specifically the work and reintegration projects are perfect to bring these worlds together because it's not about only the people, it's about what they make or what they deliver. So as the example that Elisa gave of the restaurants, we also have several restaurants and catering services where a nice food is provided and a beautiful environment is there, and people come as guests and enjoy the place and meet the people who serve the food or cook the food. And this is with almost every product that we produce within our work projects. They are kind of almost connection offer, you know, to connect with other people in the city. And if I look at the difficulties, we have difficulties, of course, around the drop-in centers also, because these places are safe environments for homeless people, but these people hang around the place also where people live and people visit, and it is disturbing. Sometimes it is. So there we try, with the work project, we try to connect in a positive way. So if the people who enter the drop-in centers also clean the streets and clean the parks, or it is the perfect way to connect, I think. And this is challenging quite often, but something we that works also very positively very often.
Thank you. The next is a little bit more difficult question is, what is the relation with the security department? What happens if one of your clients breaks some of the laws and is arrested? Are you in contact? Can you collaborate? What is your processes? Who wants to start? I see people smiling.
I'll go. I mean, I suppose, we're you know, with the traineeship, we are employing people as if they are employed like anybody else, I suppose, coming on to any other form of employment, Marisha. And so I think for us, we are employing people who are at a point in their life where hopefully that kind of life or that kind of areas where they may have found themselves getting into sort of those kind of actions are kind of behind them, and it's something that they're kind of moving on from, I suppose, and that's not part of their life so much now. But we would really treat all our employees on an equal basis, I suppose, in terms of any kind of further interactions that they maybe have with criminal justice systems. And the majority of our trainees, 90% of our trainees, have had some level of interaction with the criminal justice system at some point in their life, and are having to navigate the ongoing sort of barriers and stigma that has brought about as well. So it's something that's really quite at the front of most of our trainees' lives, I suppose, and ongoing things that they might have going on in terms of when doing the traineeship. But we don't see that as a barrier. You know, we do see it as a way of just supporting people whilst they're overcoming those challenges and those barriers in the process of getting qualification and getting the skills around becoming employable as well.
Any other comments?
Yeah, just to add that I think we work in connection with the criminal justice system in two levels. The first one is prevention. So we work with we do workshops, roundtables to just discuss the problems when we face it in the community. We think that we need to work together with the criminal justice system as with any other part of the community, service from the community. And then in a very specific way in our Housing First, we have this connection sometimes because system fails and people come out from prison directly to the street. Sometimes these people have problems and return to the prison. So what we try to do is support people before and after, maintain the contact with people even when they are incarcerated, and try to help them when they get out in a way they do not end it in the street again.
Thank you. Els?
Yeah, actually, same answers. I think we're very much on the same page. It's never a contraindication if people have a background with just a juridical background. On the other side, we treat people also as normal employees. So if they create an unsafe environment for other people working in our place, it is a problem. And this is a conversation that you have, because we want to treat people equal and not differently. But then even if people come out of prison or had whatever, the second chance is always there. And an example is, I think, the cleaning team around let's easily call it the drugs bus. Some people are forbidden to enter the park because they misbehave quite well in that park. So then we clean around the park with them. So I think we always try to find a way to keep them connected to the organization and to the work project.
If Elisa allows me, there is the last question. I'm sure that in our audience, there are many that would like to start something similar if they don't have already experience. What would be your suggestion? What is the first steps? We heard how you also crowdfunding and finance your activities. What would you do if you had to start it back again without having yet any support? One statement each.
I suppose I would, if you're going to start something from scratch, speak to the group that you want to engage with and find out how they want the project to look and what barriers they're experiencing. What does it look like to them? What would they like to see it, and how would they like to see it done, basically, I suppose, and getting that sort of buy-in from the lived and living experience community first and foremost to influence the decision making. The practical side of delivery is, I think, really key to making sure that it's primarily focused on the community at heart that you're wanting to support. That's what I would always kind of suggest, and it's a big part of what we do at SDF, is that that amplifying of voices of lived and living experience to influence the work that we then take forward and try to push forward as well.
Yeah, in line with this, I would say that first of all, it's important to create this space of participation. So listen the people you are developing the project to, and engage them since the beginning, as well as peer workers in the designing and in the implementation of the project, and also in the assessment of the pilot project you are creating. The second thing I would say, visit organizations, see how it is being done on the field, and discuss the challenges. I think it's two important steps when you are creating new projects.
Thank you. Els?
Yeah, these could be my words, and take time. Because it's if you're too ambitious, disappointment is also like in a way, and it is not it takes time to connect to people. It takes time to build up something. It takes time to create the social cohesion that we have been talking about. And this also goes like in a wavy way. So don't be too impatient.
Thank you. That's very nice final word. I give the floor back to you, Elisa. Sorry if it took time.
No worries. Thank you. I think it's very interesting discussion, and definitely we could continue with it, but our webinar is coming to the end, and now we would like to ask actually our participants to join us in the summarizing our webinar. So I will ask my colleague Anna to share a screen and ask our participants to take your phones and scan a QR code, which you can see now on the screen. If you cannot scan the QR code, please then just go to slido.com and put the number which you can see here. And then you will see we will start the poll. So we have a question for you. What's the one non-negotiable for integration? So basically, please name one thing we cannot compromise on reintegration. So what's the most important thing about the reintegration? What you maybe heard in this webinar, or maybe you have in your mind, please just share with us, and then we will see the words coming out. And that's how we're going to summarize our webinar. I see people are typing. Once again, you can scan the QR code or just enter into your phone slido.com with number 3437771. Okay, just a second. We will add slido.com. Here is the link. I see 5 people joined. Feel free to enter your words. I guess people are writing, but we cannot see the cloud somehow, cloud of the words, because it should be forming. I think it's some kind of technical issue. I'm sorry for that. Let's check. Yeah, maybe Anna, you can do the eye icon next to, yeah, just show your results. Thank you. Here we go. Now loads of words popped up. So, okay, what's the one non-negotiable for integration? Flexibility, inclusivity, honesty, live or lived living experience. Okay, acceptance is coming as one of the most important words mentioned by most of people. Having the basic needs, housing, income, healthcare, integration, some never had opportunities before, compassion, empathy, dignity, so many different values. Honesty. Any other ideas? Okay, I see in the chat as well, non-discrimination attitude. Thank you, Sabrina. Great. So I see many points were mentioned during the presentations of our speakers, but also there is a contribution from our participants. We really hope that you got inspired by this webinar. I think it's a very nice webinar for the end of the year. And as I mentioned also in the beginning, I think we should keep it on the agenda through all the year, not only, like in the last month of the year where all this kindness is coming up. Empathy, yeah, again, coming as one of the most important words. So thank you once again for our speakers for joining and presenting your case studies. Thank you for the participants who joined and stayed with us until the end. And Marika, maybe you would like just to close the webinar.
Oh, I want also to thank, because it's very important to get this hope for the people receiving the interventions, but also hope for the many professionals that are every day in the front line. And for us, because we have this big opportunity of creating a kind of a platform for people learning from each other. So during where I was listening your presentation, apart from crying, but this is my personality, I was taking notes, because there is plenty of activities in front of Elisa, mainly on how to support professionals working in harm reduction through identification of quality standards and training and practical experiences and exchanging. And I think this is particularly important in this moment where some services are challenged by reduction or even cut of funding. So it's very important that we focus on the positive results. We can do it. All together, we can do it. The value of people is amazing. I was trying to find a phrase that was catching, and I was thinking, this period is called the Anthropocene, because it's the period when the human beings are at the center of the life of the planet, and we are even destroying the environment. But in this moment, there is this paradox that some people is left behind, and they are not even at the center of their own life. But what we see through your interventions is that when you give, and now I cry, when you give a little help, they flourish. So this is really our duty, and for the well-being, not only of them, of all the communities, to provide this little help in comparison to what they give back. The witnesses of these people admitting that they never were called by name before, that they never knew how to properly sleep without feeling. This is something that touched very, very deeply inside us. And we need to help the ones that are less open to this type of empathy to learn how to become empathetic, because this is the real gift of being human beings in a proper way. So thank you very much. Thank you, Elisa. Thank you, Anna, for all the work, for organizing this, and for all the speakers, for Marco Costa. Really, there are some days where you feel more connected with your job, and this is one day for me. Thank you.